So we lost the house and we couldn't get another mortgage. Basically, before COVID, obviously we had Indy on the 31st of March. Sorry, what am I talking about? The 21st of March. But 3 days before that, a week before that, we had already got approved for a house. We put an offer in, we got the offer, we sent them our principal letter, which I'll do another video of the difference between buying a house in the UK versus the US and all the things you're gonna need. Especially if you move to the UK, you just kind of want to know where you stand or whatever, what have you. Hi, buddy. Hi. Want to say hi for the camera? Say hi, Indy. Say hi. So going into labor, knowing that we were gonna have a house and everything was gonna be great, was just like the perfect thing in the world. Like, it was great. It was a good feeling. I will show you guys a picture of the house on the side, and also if I can find the video of us doing a walkthrough, I will show you guys that as well. Like, it was not like the dream house, but it was a house that was kind of like, we're gonna be here for 5 years, we're gonna hook it up, it's gonna be great. We walked in this house, we saw a lot of houses. We walked in this house and it was just like a really good feeling. But when we opened the door, we saw the backyard. We saw full potential. Like, it was such a long garden that we were gonna build a little bit further, a little bit out more, to make the kitchen a little bit bigger and to do outdoor pantry. I mean, girl, we had it hooked up. Like, we were gonna put an ensuite, and like, it was going to be fantastic. So when you can put a personal stamp to a house, you know it's a house that you want to buy, when you already envision yourself in this house. So it was exciting. It was exciting. But let's skip back. We'll reverse. We should have did this earlier, but again, we got married, I moved to Wales, I got pregnant. It was just a lot of things going on that was major, but this was like on the top 5 things that we needed to do that year or secure. Unfortunately, we didn't get to secure it that year because there was so much going on. And we finally was like, okay, finally, my husband's really, he's a procrastinator. So I finally talked to him and we went to speak to a mortgage advisor. And the process of buying a house is somewhat different in the US than it is the UK. So the mortgage advisor, he was really busy. He's the one who helped David's sister buy her house. He was very good at, he had awesome reviews. So by the time we contacted him like around February, like 15th or 16th, and he didn't have openings until the first week of March. So yeah, he didn't have opening till the first week of March. So I was already anxious, like, come on girl, COVID is happening, like, what are we gonna do? I want to secure a house. I was kind of like trying to get things done. So when he finally came, he went over all of our perspective. And if a mortgage advisor basically is an open market person, so they get to dip into a lot of different markets. While if you went to a bank or something, you can only use their lenders, and a mortgage advisor can kind of seek out and venture out with other lenders. So we didn't know what we were gonna do. In my mind, I literally thought, sorry guys, so basically, let me hold him.
Yeah, he's about to vomit, Mom.
Yes, we'll get the ride. Randy, did you poop? So like I was saying, mortgage advisor came and he basically just went over what we can do, what we can't do. We were just thinking that we were just going to get information for the future, so we'll know where we stand, what we have to do, how much do we have to save, whatever. Mind you, we already had our deposit for the house. So we just wanted to know what we had to do. And I was curious because I'm not too familiar with buying a house because I didn't buy a house in the US. So I wanted to know how they did things here in the UK. If it was the same or different, just because my brother bought a house. I've known people who bought a house. Anyways, so what we got out of that meeting was just great. He was just like, I think you guys are in a good standpoint. Let's just go ahead and see what happens. 3 days later, bro, this guy was so efficient. He's so great. 3 days later, he's like, hey, I got a loan for you guys, a lender who's willing to give you guys a loan, and here's the amount. Now, mind you, David already kind of knew what the amount was going to be because he kind of calculated it. So we were already kind of somewhat looking in that field. But the fact that we got a principal, I was just like, oh my god, like, it was just like the best thing ever. I was like, oh my god, we're gonna get a house. Like, it was exciting because, you know, I got married, had the baby, you know, start a fresh new life with my husband, getting a house. Like, it was kind of like, I was happy. COVID started happening. I went into labor with Indy. Let me backtrack, I'm talking too much. So we started looking at houses, and the culture here for houses, I know back home, when you go to look at somebody's house, they're gonna have incense burning, cookies in the oven, they're gonna spruce up the house, get it clean, get it ready. When you come, they want you to imagine yourself in the house. Over here, it's like buying a used car in the US. So the house that we went to go see, I've seen it on Rightmove, and I was just like, you know. And then once we confirmed what school my son wanted to go to, and we had that finalized, we started to look schools in the area where it was closest for him to walk, and it wasn't a long time to walk. So we had to put that in perspective, and we wanted something with a backyard. So we saw this property, and David was like, what about this property? I was like, I didn't know. So when we went to go view it, we walked in there, and I was just like, okay, walking around the house. As soon as we went to the backyard, like, me and David looked at each other, we were like, yes. Like, it was a good feeling walking into this house. The picture didn't do it justice. I saw a lot of potential. Later that day, we saw 2 more houses, and then I think a few days later, we just saw more houses, and then we kind of was like, what about that house that we saw that was like a really good access from Malachi to go to school, and blase. So we went to do a second viewing, and I think the second viewing, we were just like, okay. So later on that day, we put in an offer. Now, we went low just so we can sort of kind of meet in the middle, because we knew we wanted to do renovation to it. It had potential to do a big renovation, but also a semi-renovation. So we wanted potential to do like a semi-renovation, and we had the deposit, but it was just kind of like, we didn't want to spend a whole deposit on it. Like, we wanted to get it for a little cheaper price, you know what I mean? So we put in an offer. Obviously they did not accept it, and then we put in another offer. They did not accept it. And then they were like, well, what about this? So when we put in the second offer, we were like, let's see if they can try to get to this number. And they got to that number. So they accepted the offer. Like, the offer was accepted, y'all. Like, offer was accepted. So we sent them our principal letter. A principal letter is basically a letter from the lender saying, hey, we are going to lend this person this amount of money, blah, blah, blah. So when we finalized going back and forth and just the little things that we had to do, we were ready to put the deposit down. COVID happened, so they were like, lockdown. Like, y'all are in lockdown. Like, lockdown. It's it. Lockdown. So we couldn't really go to the bank like that. So the estate agent was like, hey, let's recap this in 2 weeks and see if this blows over. Blase. We're like, okay. So within that 2-week period, obviously COVID happened, and but the one thing that I had to kind of get me through it is something to look forward to, which is renovation. So the thought of renovating and the excitement of the soft renovation we were gonna do, and I was gonna get new tiles. Girl, I was looking at rent, however it's for a brand new kitchen. I mean, eventually I ended up saying I'm gonna go to IKEA, but just doing everything and looking at the house and saying we bought a house, and just kind of going through the process of the renovation was so exciting to me. I was like, yes, that's what I was keeping my mind at ease during lockdown. Within that 2.5 weeks, I think it went to 3 weeks, and the estate agent was like, hey, just checking in. I'm like, hey, everything's good. And they're like, let's do this in like the next 3 days. And I kid you not, we got a call from the mortgage company, and they're like, hey, we thought this was like not going to be this serious with COVID, and we don't know what the housing market is going to look like. So we're not lending out. We're not going to follow through with the mortgage, because we don't know what the economy is going to look like. And this is fairly brand new, and it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just we need to revisit this in 3 months. Y'all, I was kind of devastated. We were sad, but at the same time we were just like, okay, let's just revisit this in 3 months. We wasn't sure how that. David ended up being furloughed a couple of days after, so we were just kind of like, yeah, like maybe it was a good thing it happened. Not so. Knowing that, you know, we didn't have the loan, our mortgage advisor was like, look, they're not the only lenders. We already got another lender we can try with. We tried with them, and the deal that they wanted to give us was just not really what we wanted, and it was just kind of like, we know we can get this, we're not going to settle for that. So we decided not to do that. So I told David, the office, they sent us an email, the estate agent, they're like, hey, we're closed, so we're going to pick this back up whenever things get reopened. So during that whole time, we're just thinking positive, like, oh my god, like, you know, when it's back open, we should already have something set in place. Again, because it happened so easily before. But then after a while, I don't know, I think I started talking to Malachi, and he started telling me like, oh, all my friends are going to this school and blah 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 blah. And I just started thinking to myself, I do not want him to go to high school without the friends, without the people that he considered to be friends. I went ahead and contacted the school board or whatever, and I sent them an email, and I was just like, I just told them what was going on. They were like, yeah, he can switch. When things start to slowly get off lockdown and people were looking into houses and stuff like that, we got contact from state agent. They were like, hey, let's pick this back up again, blah 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 blah. And we were like, went to the mortgage advisor, and the mortgage company, the lenders, they're just like, no, we still don't feel comfortable doing it right now. So we had to tell the estate agent like, hey, this is what happened. And they were like so cool about it. So we ended up just losing the house, and we were at a standstill with getting another mortgage. It's kind of like where we were at. And I think it didn't, ooh, Andy just vomited. Parent life, I think it didn't hit me right then and there, because I felt like this happened for a reason. Because beforehand, like I was saying about the school, we already had switched to school. So the house that we were going to buy just was not beneficial for Malachi going to the other school. Like, there was just too much trek work as far as public transportation. It was just it was far. So in a way, I felt so defeated about losing the house. I felt good in the outcome because my son was going to school that he wanted to go to, and we didn't buy this house that, you know, so it kind of balanced itself out. But I think the process of losing the house or just not being able to get another mortgage during this time was starting to become such a thorn in my back, because we were just kind of like, okay, we'll just stay here and just wait till everything picks back up, living in the condo. But then when the school finally sent us the paperwork saying, oh, we're sorry, you're on a waiting list for the bus, I was like, what? You mean tell me my kid got to take public transportation? Which is fine, because over here it's decent. But where we were, he had to walk at least 2 blocks, then take public transportation. It's going to be like, it was just too much for my 11-year-old to do, and I did not want to do that, and it would have been too much for me to do it with him. I think if I didn't have Indy, I wouldn't mind, but it would have been too much. So it put me in full kind of like survival mode, and I'm like, we gotta find a place, we gotta get another mortgage. So I was watching this girl's video, and she was like, hey, don't settle for one mortgage advisor sending out to a couple. So we sent it out to a few, like 8, and they all came back with different feedback. So we were just kind of like, oh shit, like we got other options. But again, they always say the same thing, we're still at a standstill. Once it's over, we're good to go. So we're just kind of like, what's the even point even doing that? Stick with the same guy, because everybody's saying somewhat the similar things, but it's just different. What I mean, different options as far as like buying a new house, going through different programs, first time buyers programs. A lot of them had different things to offer. So that's what I mean by different things. So we started looking at houses full throttle, and we just didn't find anything, you guys. We didn't find anything. And again, we were just doing that because we knew that we can get a mortgage. We're just waiting for it to get off its hump. But then after a while, I looked at the time frame, and I'm like, David, he's starting school in September. This is not going to happen right now. It's just not. It's not going to happen right now. We're not going to get, even if the mortgage lenders thing get back on its high horse and everything gets going, the time frame is not going to work out for us. I did not want to go through all of that while Malachi starting his first process of school. Now, if he was going to the same school, I wouldn't have mind, but he's going to high school. That's a different step in his life. And I wanted to make that relaxing and calming as possible. And I wanted to be stable when that happens. because again, we've already moved across country. I did not want to put him in that predicament. I really wanted him to be in a stable environment. Things are smooth and he's going off to high school. I really wanted that. So again, we could have switched schools to buy a house, but doing the walkthrough through the school and talking with the head teacher, we knew it was a good fit. We knew it. But losing the house, we were able to get my son in the school that he wanted to go to. So it did work out for our benefit. You know what I'm saying? It really did. But at the same time, nobody's lending anybody anything. We had to start all over again. We didn't have enough time. So that realization hit me really hard, and it really put me in a slump. Like, honestly, the anxiety level went from 2 to 1,000. Like, I was on, we need to find a place. We need to find a place. And then we got into letting. And I'm like, okay, well, forget it. Let's rent for a year. Let's get things going. Let's rent in the area close to Malachi School. Let's make this easier for him. And the area where his school was awesome. Like, it was like a sought-out neighborhood that everybody wanted to move to. So we were good either way. But when I jumped into the process of renting, that's a totally different video, y'all. My stress level went from, it just went crazy. But again, we're still going through the process. I'll do another video on that. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to make this video long and my battery light's flashing. But yeah, so we didn't get through with the house, and we are at a standstill when it comes to getting another mortgage. And I think the best option for us to do, things happen for a reason, and we're going to rent a property, and we're still going to be looking, I think once we're 6 months into renting, we're going to looking at houses again, and then we're going to get back into trying to get another lender or the same lender, which will be better for us. Financially, it will be much better because we'll save more money, and then we'll take our time. We'll take our time to find that house.